As you all know, I'm your host, Frank DePayne from Let Me Be Frank with You, East Rochester. Today we're here on this beautiful, gorgeous day with Chad and Mark at the park. We're going to open up the floor for Mark and Chad to answer some questions. Ask anything you want, everybody, please. Feel free. No question, big or small, is a problem here. So, we'll take it from there as soon as we do stuff. But in the meantime, if you all have a chance to, when you get a chance to come on out here to, where are we? I'm in Lion Park. I was going to say Iyer Park, but Iyer Park's down the hill. Oh, I'm going to just talk into this. All right, so we're going to do some outtakes probably, so we can edit this because, we do a lot of great editing here with Let Me Be Frank with You, East Rochester. So, frankly speaking, I just want to say that if anybody has looked down over here on Main Street, watch out for the big boat. The animals are lining up 2 by 2. All right, that's my joke for the day, dumb dad joke. But anyway, so what I'd like to do is take a moment right now and introduce Chad and Mark. Come on in.
Right behind you.
Thanks, Frank. Here comes Mark. Mark's got his hot chocolate, so he's ready to go.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna step away a second, and I'll be over on the other side of the camera.
All right.
Smart.
All right.
Did you want to just say a few words, welcome our guests, and then we can
Well,
take
everybody,
a few questions?
I think everyone here, we've already all met. So, but thanks for coming down on this glorious day. Again, thank you for supporting Chad and me on this. Things are really going good. We'll get better.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions or thoughts or?
Yeah, what are some things that people care about around town? Things that used to be that you'd like to see again? Things that have changed you think should change in a different way? Things that you think are going really well? We had a lot of good conversation here just earlier with some other people, but yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. You're probably really sick of this question. I was wondering what was going on with the road construction. I know, or I had heard that East Rochester had gotten a grant to rebuild some of these roads. Some of them are in dire condition. So I was wondering if you knew anything about that.
Yeah, that's a good question. So for anybody who couldn't hear because of the mic, so the question was about road reconstruction, maintenance in East Rochester. So over the last year, the town board, I think, authorized more than $10 million worth of road works. A lot of that came from stimulus money, with COVID money. And so we rebuilt a lot of streets, milled and paved a lot of streets. Specifically, the biggest project was West Filbert Street, where the whole street was dug up. That street, somebody at town hall told me it was sinking to China, and it needed to be fixed, and it was. The road was just terribly unsafe. And so that road construction is continuing, but we don't have as much money as available as we did last year because of all that stimulus money that's been spent.
Yeah, I should add, when it comes to the urban improvements, the state and the federal offer grants, but they don't give you 100%.
Yeah.
The village has to come up with a matching thing. So they try to do the best they can with their budget without raising taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So they can only get so many streets per year. And then they allocate money for trees for the parks.
Mm-hmm.
And that can range from $2,000 to $4,000 for trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Is the town now doing everything they can to take advantage of all the grants that are out there?
We have a really aggressive administrator who watches it, and we have grant writers down south of Buffalo who work strictly for the village.
Okay.
So anything that comes online, they notify us. At the moment, we're working towards 2 forestry grants, tree and maintenance. So you'll see more trees go in. And then what follows is the Parks Committee will come in right behind that, and we'll add more money for more people to get more trees.
Mm-hmm. And
What's
so
the Parks Committee?
I got to kill you.
We'll edit that out.
yeah,
No, I want that in.
Facebooking
Yeah.
live it right
Yeah.
now.
we're all
What's the
live.
Parks Committee?
All right, here we go again. The Parks Committee was started in '07 by a group of residents who felt that they should have more of a say in all the parks that we have here. We have 4 parks. And at the time, the Rotary wanted to put in a pavilion right here in Edmund Lyon Park. And I kind of said, that's enough, I've had it. So I did up a design for the fountain. And the Rotary jumped on the idea, they loved it, and we put the fountain in. And after that, I with so many people voicing a concern, I thought, let's form a group, let's work it, making our parks together. The more people working together, more people get to know each other. We're all one common cause. So we have days where we're down here helping clean the park. The DPW helps us with a lot of materials. And we hope to, in the near future, get 501c3 status, which means we will be a nonprofit organization.
I want to, first, I want to take the chance to make Mark blush. So, you know, Mark is a very humble man. We're incredibly lucky to have him here in East Rochester. Mark was one of those people who founded the Parks Committee, and his humility gets in the way of really celebrating his achievements. So in this period of time, since 2007, Mark has funded the Parks Committee. It's never received any town money. No tax dollars have ever gone to it for all the work that they've done. Mark collects scrap metal and sells it, and all of that money goes into memorial trees and other maintenance things around town, around our parks. And that's Mark. Mark is the driving force behind the Parks Committee, and we're really lucky to have him and everything he's done.
Thank you.
Yeah. And he's been selfless, absolutely.
I just believe if you're going to live here, maybe it's probably being in the Boy Scouts for too long. I just like to give back. I like to work at it. And that's just what I love to do.
Yeah. You know, earlier somebody asked a question about like road construction, and that's actually how I first got involved with local politics. I heard about federal grants that were coming through, also through all that COVID money, about improving safety for walking, biking, and in a town like East Rochester, a walking school district, that's a natural fit. And this program was one of the first ever run by the Department of Transportation, and cities, big cities would be eligible to get up to $50 million for these projects. A town like East Rochester would get less. But the point is, that's when I started getting involved. I made sure that the town was aware of these, talked with our administrator, had meetings with our mayor, spoke with our New York State representative, our county representatives. I took Howard Mafucci on a bike ride around East Rochester. He's one of our county legislators, and talked to him about the different county roads and issues that residents have with those, and really want to show them what it's like to live here. Because if
tout your accomplishments.
yeah.
The accomplishments that you have.
Yeah. So one thing most people know about that deadly crash that was over on Lincoln Road. I very intently worked with our Department of Transportation at the county level to get them to do a safety review of Lincoln. That's still ongoing, but it just shows that certain roads, we need to address safety in town, especially in a walking district, and that's one of my passions. We've got a question in the back.
Which roads are the county roads that you're referring to?
It's a great question. So East Rochester, you know, a town of roughly 1 square mile, is bisected by really 4 large roads, and all of those are not controlled by us. And so Lincoln Road over here to my right is run by the county, as is Linden, so the 2 L roads. Washington Road, Washington Street that goes into Washington Road in Pittsburgh, is New York State. Fairport Road is also a New York State road. And so those large roads that have an incredible amount of traffic coming through, the people that we need to talk to, you know, advocating with our town board is important, and our mayor, but we really need to be active in talking with people outside of our government for those. Go ahead.
In the little safety of people walking and biking, have you thought about putting like speed bumps up on more traffic roads?
Yeah. So I can tell you that the county and New York State would never ever want to do that. Speed bumps, I think, have a role. I'm not really sure. I know that our DPW has a very strong opinion on those, and I think it's worth having a conversation. And whenever I've brought those things up, we've said, well, we don't have those. It makes it too hard to plow. But, you know, removable speed bumps exist, right? That can be there in the summer when kids are out more and more people are walking and biking, things like that. So the point is that we have options, and I think that Mark and I really, every time I talk with Mark, I'm amazed by his flexibility of mind, you know, his curiosity in trying to find solutions to a problem. Mm-hmm. Got a question in the back here.
When are there going to be more sidewalks?
Oh, the question was about sidewalks. This was a plant of mine in the back. And so, yeah, so East Rochester is lucky to be one of the most sidewalked communities, I believe, in New York State. And honestly, I think that's why a group like the one I started, ER Walk and Roll, is successful. You could imagine that in a community where everybody walks or everybody drives and there's no sidewalks, it would be harder to get people to buy in. And so we have a few gaps in our sidewalk network, and I want to give credit where it's due to our existing board and our town administrator, who received a $1.5 million grant to extend our sidewalk network to areas that need it and need repairs.
I wanted to know why didn't the village have more awareness about a Taco Bell going in and yes,
Yeah.
a gas station, something or other going in on land that is sold.
So the question was about the recent development, Taco Bell over on Commercial Street, and then the Burn Dairy on Linden. And I'm going to let Mark handle this landmine. Yeah.
Where's the brandy?
Yeah.
No. So the Taco Bell, that whole thing is privately owned, the Piano Works. And Taco Bell made a pitch to them. They agreed to do it, but it still had to go through the zoning board, and it got approved. And it was, yeah. As far as the Burn Dairy goes, that area was previously zoned commercial and residential. So there wasn't anything this board could do about stopping it, because what they didn't address, which they should do every 25 years, is a comprehensive plan. And what that is how you look forward to how you want to see your village develop, what you want to happen, what not to happen. They hadn't done anything. Burn Dairy got wind of its zone resident or commercial. The zoning board had to say yes. I found out though that Henrietta threw them out. They didn't want Burn Dairy, so it came here, and there was nothing that could be done.
I think this is, we have a lot of questions, but I do want to chip into, this is another example of Mark's foresight. Mark has run for village trustee in the past, and he's run vehemently on the fact that East Rochester needs a town plan. We're a town of 6,000 people. We have 6 gas stations. That's a lot. You know, we have a lot of through traffic here. Those businesses don't do a lot to maintain money inside of our own community. It's a vital service. I use gas stations too. I want to make sure that it's appropriate in a way that helps to build tax revenue for our town, provide vital services, things like that. I will say specifically about the Burn Dairy, I was at the board meeting when the board voted on whether or not to rezone that commercial. There was a plan to put apartments there, very contentious, but the issue at the table at that time was rezone it residential. I feel very strongly, Mark is a member also of our town housing authority, that we are in a housing crisis. Young families cannot afford good homes. Renters are forced into homes that are not safe. Landlords do not maintain their homes, driving down our property values. The town board voted against rezoning that instead of having an honest conversation about what that should be done. Should land next to a waterway include buried gasoline tanks? You know, the Army Corps of Engineers approved it, and that was certainly their right not to. But there's a lot of things going on there that I feel like context was needed and it wasn't given. And regarding Taco Bell too, you know, there's a role for those places, whether or not it's in front of this historic building that has become an icon of our town. I don't think so. But this just needs more conversation. And Mark and I really believe in conversation. That's why we're having a town hall today. Go ahead.
So, you know, you hit on a topic that is always brought up with local people, the people in town. You know, the maintaining of property, like the housing board, like what would you do? It's been a chronic, long-term issue in our village. Yeah. What would you do differently if you were on the board?
Yeah. So the question was about property maintenance in town, specifically regarding rental properties. Do you want to take a first crack?
I'm the vice chair for the housing authority, and we historically receive money through bond acts, not through taxpayer money, bond acts. So at one time we had a bank account of $350,000, and we did buy a few homes and flip them back to single family, in which they have to stay that way permanently. The problem we have is we don't have the influx of money that we used to have. We also don't have a point person who's like on the street, and all of a sudden one of these houses just goes up, and it quickly gets the stamps up before we can get it. If we could get a hold of one of these and get them away from the landlord, turn it back into a single family, there we go.
Can I ask you, Mark, though, are we enforcing our zoning and are we being as strong as we can be in that regard?
Marty D'Ambrose, our village administrator, has really made a strong effort to the inspectors. Let's do something with the lawns, the houses. Let's really go after this. So they're trying, but personally, do I think more could be done? Yeah, I really do. I think we should ratchet down on these landlords who just, you know, the washer and dryer on the front lawn, the cars turned sideways, the laundry's hanging out of the window. Yeah, we can do more. And I think more people who are aware of this and get together and get a voice, and you stand there at the board meeting, and there's 100 people going, we want something done. It means something. Yeah. It's not just Laura talking or Frank talking.
I want to just chip in too around that. It's so true. And the town has, for a number of years, maybe you know the history better, has had a moratorium on conversions of houses into duplexes, doubles or triples and things like that. And then there's also the carrot of that, which is up to $10,000 tax rebate for deconversion of a double or a triple back into single family home. And I think that has stopped or stemmed the tide of these conversions. And, you know, there's a role for rental properties in all of our community. And I think something that I can say I personally very strongly believe in is that our renter neighbors deserve to live in humane housing. And that involves working with landlords. And sometimes if the carrot's not working, then you have to assess whether a stick is needed. And so I don't know what that would look like, but I'm open to hearing from other residents and investigating what other towns in similar situations do.
I have a question about the housing authority in East Rochester. I think a lot of people are confused about the role that it plays. You did explain that it's up through Bond Act, but a lot of people compare it to the Rochester Housing Authority, and they think that it's that people are given grants. And can you explain the actual process in which the East Rochester Housing Authority uses in order to make run what it does?
We're a separate entity.
Correct.
We have been outside of the city of Rochester. We're working on establishing a cohesive hand-to-hand helping each other. They like the idea that we're a New York State. We're probably the only little housing authority in a village. No other villages have this. Like I was saying earlier, the problem we have is we need more what they call boots on the ground. The minute we see a house go up, we don't grab it fast enough. We don't have people to do that. So we need to address that issue. Our money is growing. Our bank account is growing. If we can get one of these homes, get contractors in there, flip it back. To end this with is we're seeing if we can qualify through Rochester with bigger grants to acquire these homes and not wait for a bond act or anything like that.
Speaking of acquired homes, I think I asked the old library,
Friant House, yeah.
Does the village own that house?
No, that was another case where the village made a boo-boo.
Wow.
So the house went up.
Yeah.
And I'll keep some names out of it. Anyways, the house went up, and it was listed as commercial. And at the board meeting, these people got up and said to the certain people, wait a minute, how come you didn't list this residential? And the mayor just turned to me and said, wait a minute, we were supposed to list this residential. And so it got changed, and now there's a family living in there, which is...
Well, maybe we should take the historic sign down off it since it's an embarrassment at this point.
Yeah.
The maintenance of it.
The Ecotech, which is the business that's down on Main Street on the left-hand side, they initially were going to buy this and restore it back to the original 1900 thing. Now, sadly, we've lost that opportunity.
Right. You know, as we've kind of talked through, and I'll get to your question too, I think that what we've seen is an incredible amount of pride in East Rochester in both the past and the future. And what we really need is somebody who's going to have their beliefs questioned, respectfully so, going to be able to have a flexible mind to try to find solutions, the transparency to ask people what they want, and the ability to be disagreed with and come to a mutual understanding, or just disagree. And instead, I feel like sometimes I just don't have the transparency I need as an actively involved community member. And so my primary goal with my other group is about walking and biking and safe routes to school. And I have good working relationships with the town, and I think they can be even better. And I want other people who are passionate about other things to have the same opportunities to start the same groups. And I think that Mark brings a great historic lens to these, and that's in part because he's lived here so long and he's been so active. Bonnie, you had a question?
As a walker,
Mm-hmm.
not to be a narc or anything, but if you see a house that is always in disrepair,
Yeah.
I mean, could you take a picture and send it to somebody?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
Yes.
that would be something I would definitely do.
That would go to the town. So the question was about how do you report a neighbor's house that just isn't being maintained? The grass is too long, or broken windows, or things like that, or you wonder if it needs to be condemned, or safety and things like that. And so there are avenues to do that, but I think that we need to actively encourage our neighbors and know ourselves that we are allowed to do that, and that's part of maintaining a good town.
Like to go back, you brought up something I forgot. We haven't utilized the enforcement
Mm-hmm.
in this village goes around and supposedly does their job.
Yeah.
And they were the eyes and ears on the ground. But they never notified us when a house came up.
Yeah.
And if we found out about it early enough, we would have bought a lot of these homes and turned them back. So
Do you
we've
work with real estate agents?
no, we don't work with a real estate
Okay.
agent.
For them to tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just trying to say, listen, you two guys, if you see one of these things, you know it's going to get foreclosed on, or the bank's going to whatever they're going to do to it, or it's now being whatever. Tell us right away, because within the space of hours, we can put tens of thousands of dollars down and get that house.
Right.
But like I said earlier, we just didn't have that communicate with the village, which that's why I want to be there. We need more communication.
There's never a better time to invest in our town than yesterday. And so the hard things that we have to do today, we just have to be able to have that discussion and have leadership and the people who are willing to go out on a limb and try to invest in this town in ways that haven't been done. And I think we see that a lot with housing. Did you have a question?
Somebody simply said to you, why should I vote for you and Mark over the other candidates? What would you say?
Yeah. So the question was, why would somebody vote for me? Like, what's the elevator pitch? I have mine. Mark, do you have yours? Yeah.
I was at the Landmark the other day, and one of my friends said, come over to the table. I want to introduce you to friends that probably they might vote for you. And this one lady just with the most cold stare goes, what are you going to do for me if I put you in office?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to lower my taxes? And I said, well, the first thing I'm going to do as a politician, I'm not going to lie to you. No, I'm not going to lower your taxes. There's nothing I can do about it. That's the honest truth. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, that's what I wanted to hear. Yeah. And I said, the other one is, I'm going to take the door off the hinges. You come and talk to me anytime with whatever subject you have, and I will work for you. That's why I'm choosing to put myself in that position.
Yeah.
I don't want to sit. I want to be on the front line. I don't even like talking.
Yeah.
but
yeah.
You like doing.
Yeah, I like just doing. Get on that. That's
We were handing out door hangers, and it was someone who I knew was a Republican, and he said, "But I like Mark. I put a Republican sign in my front lawn, but I still see people vote for Mark because he's a good East Rochester man and he walks his talk." So
There's
I
a
think
lot of people that feel that.
Yeah.
So, and then we went into our chat.
Yeah.
Talking about chat as well. So I mean, clearly you paved the way, and people know you've already done a lot of walking the talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Fred. And everybody else, I just don't. Talking's not my forte. I want to be on the front lines, doing something for people, listening to them, and helping this community. Yeah. This is a rare gem. 1 square mile. It's very walkable. It can be very safe. You've got restaurants and everything. We're really lucky. I mean, Pittsford, they're spread out. They got a drive car. We're very lucky here. So we should keep this little gem. 4 great parks.
Yeah. You know, for my part, Sally, to answer your question, when I talk to people, prospective voters, I tell them I'm a father of a young family. I feel a lot of the same pinches that other young people do, but also those pinches aren't necessarily unique. Nobody wants to pay more in taxes. Everybody wants more pride in their neighborhood. And what do I bring? I bring an open door, like Mark said. I'm willing to be taught, I'm willing to be respectfully disagreed with, and I'm willing to just respectfully ask questions and let people know that I don't know all the answers. What I need is I need to hear from people who care about a certain issue, and I'll try to learn as much as I can about it, and I'll do as much research as I can, and really just try to find out what's the best way to make this town better. And I'm not so narcissistic to think that I know the answers. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I know all about walk and roll. I know about the parks. A lot of things brought up here. They're on ER Communicates and other things.
Yeah.
What are those little gems that we don't know about that you think you can make a difference with?
That's really good.
Well, I could say something about Mark. Mark knows so many people. Mark knows the history of this village inside and out. And I think that Mark really has those assets that he can leverage to get work done. He can bring people to the table and try to find a way to solve a problem amicably and make a compromise. And that's what we want, is we want people to understand that we're working with you. We're not top down telling you what's going on. And instead, we just need input from you, and we're going to gather all of our resources and connections to make things happen.
We have a lot of features in this village that we can really enhance and grow. Point in case of, there's a program now that's through New York State, and I'm trying to see if I can get the school to do it, is that kids sign on to a national park, even though the park could be in Arizona or California, but they now take care of that park. They can send literature, they can send money and that stuff. So what we're doing is making the kids in the school more aware on a global thing. You know, okay, we're in a little village, but there's big issues that you can address even at your age. With the parks here, we got to preserve these parks. They're good for your well-being. The houses, like we talked about, it's an ongoing issue. They need to be kept to code, and the landowners need to be really taken to task. I don't know if I've answered the question, but
you know, I think that a lot of things have changed since COVID. More people are working from home, and if you think about what really people want in a town for the future, young people with young families like myself, we want a place that's safe for our kids to go out, not only play on the sidewalk, play in the street, know that the park is safe to get to and you can enjoy it and that it's beautiful. People who are working from home are going to pay more for a house where they can walk to a restaurant to get their lunch and walk to a park and enjoy a beautiful day. And we have all these incredible assets and we need to leverage them. I honestly do believe that East Rochester can be the envy of all the other villages in our area. We don't have the canal, right? But we have such an incredible core and a dedicated group of people.
Well, I just think, looking at this park itself, before COVID, there seemed to be more things going on. I remember there was a lacrosse tournament here at one point, the other things. And now, outside of maybe the church or some other functions, there doesn't seem to be anything specifically that's bringing people here. So I'd like to see maybe a local art show.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not talking like Cornhill type thing, but maybe people from either Pittsburgh or East Rochester.
Yeah.
Something like that to really bring people to the park.
well, that's my age. I forget stuff. We have the Artist Collective, which is in the Piano Works. Are you aware of that?
Or in the Technoplex.
It's over at the Piano Works. A fellow artist of mine named Brandy Marino started this a few years ago, and she worked with the owners of the Piano Works, and he said, I will reduce the prices way down. And so she's filled that with like 120 artists. And her and I are trying to work together to establish, like on a Saturday or Sunday, close Main Street down, have all the artists show their work, local artists too, have some kids involved, and have national artists there also.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's there. We got to keep the wheel moving.
I think that would be perfect.
That is a strong possibility. It's probably going to happen.
some of our other guests were talking about how we used to have movies in the park here, and we don't do that anymore. That COVID threw a wrench in that here. The summer concerts are just a fantastic way that we bring people from outside here. They spend money on our commercial street, and that's great, supporting those businesses. It gives ER a name, and it gives us all something to be proud of. Wouldn't it be great if instead of a Burger King next to the Taco Bell, next to the Wendy's, we had a plaza where these artists could put out their wares and things, right? This is where Mark's idea for a comprehensive plan comes in place. We have to understand that the town can look forward and make small investments now to make progress now, and also make investments deep into the future. And Mark's shown a vision for that. Was there another? I think there's a question on Facebook.
Yeah, we actually have a couple comments on Facebook. We have somebody saying transparency and curiosity is a way forward. We understand that you have an open door policy, but how will you impact the board in the way that they communicate with board members if you are elected? Because we as residents don't feel like we are alerted to a lot of the ongoings and the inner workings of what's going on, or the background actions that might affect us potentially. So how would you keep us informed, or how would you work with the board to do that?
Yeah. So the question came from Facebook, and it's about how will we actually live the ideals of transparency. We've talked about how we're willing to talk with people, but then the actual business of the town. Mark, how will you make people more aware of what's happening?
Well, you're right. It's going to come down to a political thing. If both of us got elected, there's going to be 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. And I hope that we could just throw all that out the window and just be 4 individuals who are in a community and talk about things. As far as myself, like I said earlier, I'm open. I want to have people come and talk to me. That's how I get to do what I can do. I can get smarter in trying to help other people. And I will go right back to the board and say, listen, I have 20 constituents that just really are serious about this issue. Let's do this.
Go ahead. We have another question.
Other than what you just said, I mean, we've got our Facebook page. So what channels of communication will people be able to reach out to you with? Meaning that you've got social media, those kinds of things. I think that might be part of what that person is asking.
I think we should have these nice meetings like this once a month, every 2 months or something, and just come down here, sit and relax, and you can meet with us if we are elected, and we can talk about things.
Right.
And we can know how you feel, and maybe we can come to a medium road about how to get it done.
Yeah. I think too, more than anybody else in the 21st century, Mark puts his phone number out on Facebook more than anybody I would ever understand. But Mark does that because he wants people to call him. If you've got an old stove that you're not using, he's going to take it, he's going to recycle it and plant a tree with that money, things like that. We use social media very aggressively in this campaign. We're live streaming right now. We want people to be able to hear what we're saying right now and hear it in the future, so that months in the future, somebody who just comes into our campaign, they can see what we're about and hear these speeches and hear these Q&As. I agree. I think that we need more town halls. I remember one of the first board meetings that I went to, somebody was presenting something and they were talking about a lawsuit for the town that the town was settling out of, and it seemed everything seemed appropriate, but then they were talking about how much they were settling or how much it was going to cost, and the word kept going around, everybody in the board and the person who was presenting saying, the exposure to the town is going to be de minimis, right? So I don't speak Latin at home. So I think that that's a legal term. That means it's a minimal amount of exposure for the town in this liability. I believe that when the town is spending money to resolve a lawsuit, or they're spending money to do something, we should really have those dollar figures in front of us, and that will enable our residents, our neighbors, to be able to see where their money's going. And if a street renovation costs $1 million versus $4 million, we need to know why. And these investments that we make in our town are big. But like I said before, you make the investments today, they pay off into the future, and they do not get cheaper. And I want more transparency about how our money is being spent, because everybody complains about taxes. Nobody likes spending them. But we get a lot for our taxes in this town. And the town should be yelling it from the rooftops what we get. And that'll build more pride too. Did you have something you wanted to chip in before we go to another question?
Nope.
No, but I just want to add, even though the burned dairy is going in where it's going as a negative, the positive is that it's the first time in 10 years that they're going to be collecting tax revenue from that property.
Mhm.
Because
So-
prior to that, it was a tax-free church.
Mhm.
So we as a community are benefiting from that in a financial way.
Definitely. So the point from the audience was that the burned area, although contentious, is bringing in much needed tax revenue to the town. 100%. Mark and I are not NIMBYs. We are not people who want no development in this town. And that's what the comprehensive plan is for. We need to have a plan for development into the future. What do we want Commercial Street to look like? What do we want Main Street to look like? An old building that needs to be rehabbed. What should it look like? And where should that investment come from?
And
Go ahead,
you
another
look at
question.
Our neighbors, Fairport, and what they did in our village. Although a lot of people arguing what they did, they took away some parking to put in some businesses.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've gone down there on a Friday or Saturday night, but it's hopping.
Yeah.
People are going to the village to eat, to listen to artists sing, play guitar, whatever. So if there's an investment, and you're going to have people that aren't wanting to do that.
Yeah.
But you need to take steps to make it better.
And take a risk, right?
You do.
That was a risk. Parking is sacrosanct at a lot of levels of government, and people aren't willing to make those changes. But it can be reversed. Why not make a chance? I have taken the trolley path through East Rochester down to the canal in Fairport and gone to that little gelato shop, and they took what was probably a dingy little alley and they turned it into a bike street with a beautiful patio for a gelato shop and a taco shop next door, and people spend money there. And it's unique and people care about it. We're not going to be a bicycle-only town. Nobody wants that. We're not going to be able to really change everything about East Rochester overnight. But what we can do is guide it, and we can take some calculated risks and see what can come of it. And if it doesn't work, we roll it back. Mark and I are very sensitive to finances of our neighbors, understand that people on fixed income, there are people with young families, there are people who make minimum wage. And we need to find low-cost ways to take these risks, see what works, and then make a bigger investment.
I think that we have a Facebook comment that I would actually play right into that that dialogue that you're speaking about. There's Carly from Facebook that has actually said, yes, more businesses in piano works. Also,
can you access the comments on your phone, Joelle, on the Facebook page, and then we can just leave the camera that's filming? Yeah. Why don't we try to do it from another phone? Okay. I'm gonna just do some technical.
Doing something here.
No, I think it's still going.
No, there's this in the middle.
Oh, it's a battery alert. That's
okay, so
Right, so this is what we've got.
okay. We got a question coming in from Facebook from Frank here.
Alright, so
Come in front of the banner. Into the banner.
So Carl,
Oh, yeah.
Carly's saying, I'd love to see our playgrounds get upgraded to be the beauty of the town.
Yeah.
Playground in the park is so sad. Yes, more businesses and can works. I'd love to see small businesses go there. Bring some history back to life, and also a farmer's market. So,
yeah.
With regards to the playgrounds, I know that we're working on that.
Yeah. So, a lot of these things that we want, an artist, an art show that comes through town, or a farmer's market, these are some things that are just organic, that people in our community need to be willing to put in the time to do. And so we can encourage that, but not all of it's going to be public government investment. But certainly a willingness to try these things and giving residents enough power to try this. If they want to use public facilities to do an artist collective and have those shows, I think we should do it. If we can really get traction on a farmer's market, we should do it, and we should be open to it. Yeah,
Talk a little bit about social media.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
One of the things I've learned to grasp with is the fact that as I get older, things change, and the younger generations really, this phone is their life. And I know a lot of businesses are going and trying to update their social media. Town web pages are the same thing.
Yeah.
If you look at our town web page, I think it's about 10 to 15 years outdated.
Mhm.
Okay, there's misinformation. There's links that don't work. As a perfect example, I think it was within the last year. You can get a notification, right?
Yeah.
From the town, something going on. I was like, great. If they're going to do a party in the park.
Yeah.
Church in the park. There's going to be something at the school, so there's going to be additional traffic over there and stuff like that. And when they brought that up, I think within that first week there was 1 or 2 notifications. Nothing since.
Right.
Have we not done anything in this town that the residents need to know about?
Yeah.
Whether it is for safety concerns or just to know, like, oh my God, there's an event going on. I just got a notification. I'm going to go down to Piano Works to check it out.
Yeah.
There's lots going on. And when you push notifications, people are going to see those and they're going to get involved.
Yeah.
But we're not utilizing that technology. So I would like, going forward, for our trustees to really embrace today's technology.
I think too, the town developed this app with a company, and so we have an East Rochester app. I suggest that you download it and try it and put your comments to it. The issue I find is the town probably spent tens of thousands of dollars on this. I don't think it's as utilized as it can be. Maybe we just need to continue to try to push that. But we were speaking with some other guests here today. ER Communicates replaces what would have been a local newspaper in the past, right? And there is almost no official town presence on that page. And what does that lead to? Misinformation, rumors, and honestly, just disparagement of the people who are trying to do a lot of good work in this town, and it's because they're not being advocated for. And so I think, Keith, to your point, the app, we need to make sure that we use that investment that we've already made and really make it useful for people. And then we need to use other avenues where the people are. There's 7,000 people on ER Communicates. I don't think it's crazy for somebody from the town to be given the power to post notices on there. Because I agree, I've had a hard time getting things on the town website. I found it to be really frustrating.
And there are people I know, the Cohens, Nick was here, they'll remind people, fall week, you don't keep asking, here it is, right?
Yeah.
I want that social media to be something more than, when's bulk week, what was that boom?
Yeah.
Did I hear gunshots, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
After a while, it gets ridiculous.
And, Mark and I, the campaign that we're running right now, right, live broadcasting this Q&A and everything, I think it is totally reasonable for the town's board meetings to be live cast on Facebook. Not everybody has a TV with an antenna that can do it. Not everybody can come to it in person. I think that those videos on demand, personally, I find them hard to navigate and find out what's what. I think that the agendas and the minutes for those meetings need to include more information. They are very difficult to decipher. And if you were not there, and if you didn't go up to the dais after a meeting and directly talk to somebody about a question you had, you might miss it. So I think we can do better with two-way communication in this town.
The minutes are lacking.
Yeah.
And even the style, it's like, are they not using, I'm not sure what they're doing, but a Word document to try to do it?
I don't know.
Into a PDF, make it more user-friendly.
More transparency, which is what we're running for.
A lot of it has, as an aside, that's a great topic for bipartisan, just to get that going, to make that happen. I think we need to, as a community, drive that and let everybody know and begin that process now, irrelevant of the election.
Yeah.
I think that'll benefit the whole community.
Definitely.
To piggyback off that, Elle made a comment on the Facebook. Thank you for joining us. She said, can you link info about the app to your Facebook page so it's easy to find and download?
Yeah.
As someone who is a Gen X myself and, in my early 40s, I didn't even know there was an East Rochester app.
Yeah.
And I've lived here for 4 years.
Yeah.
So I think it would be beneficial for people to be able to know about things like this.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that transparency will help people, and better communication will help people find out about all these interesting things that are happening in our community that people just kind of have no idea about.
I agree, yeah. Did you have any closing thoughts, Mark? Anything you want to share?
No. I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
Mark and I just want to reiterate before Frank comes in and sees us out. The campaign promise is out there. Ask us anything. We answer in 24 hours publicly. We want you to know. We're hearing your questions, and we want to make the town better the same way as you. Any problems you're having, any concerns you have, let us know, and we'll answer honestly.
Yes.
And I just want to say, Thank you guys.
Thanks, Frank.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Frank.
We're gonna have another one of these coming up again later this summer. We've got the Memorial Day Parade coming up next week. Chad's gonna be doing it with the ER Walk and Roll. Mark's gonna be there with the Parks Committee. What are you doing that's unique with the Parks Committee next week?
So for all of you who are going to be at the parade, this year the Parks Committee is handing out 360 white spruce trees
Wonderful.
with a little special gift to each tree, which you have to be there to get it. So we hope to see you down there at the parade.
And I hear that they're gonna be throwing out candy too.
We hope to see you guys all there, and
Thank you
please
very
come to
much.
the next one. Thanks, guys.
Nope. So, hey, Mark.